tune into yourself and be more present in the now, which is your point of power, because the power is in the now. The past is a place which can lead you into what I would call disempowerment, for want of a better word. So now I'm going to drag something else into this discourse, which is the story. We all tell ourselves, and we tell each other, stories about the past. It's so tempting to do. You meet somebody new, and hello, how are you, and what do you do, and what are your interests? Next thing you know, you might end up telling them stories about your past. And it's okay, so long as you realise it's just a story, and so long as you realise it doesn't have to have any relevance to what's going on right now. When people come on the retreats, they get an opportunity to die to the past and be present to the now. And that is a position of power to put yourself into. Now, I know that so strongly because I've done the opposite a lot of my life. So I'm going to do a little bit of the opposite now. I'm just going to drag a little bit of the past up. So one of my stories of the past is I experienced chronic illness for 10 years. And I could actually go into that place. I could drag all the details up. I could wallow in it. I could get into feeling victim. I could get into feeling past sufferings. And I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do that because that is so unhelpful. And what I'm doing, if I was to allow myself to get into that, then I'm bringing sufferings and pains from the past, and I'm actually literally poisoning the now by stories which are simply thoughts and feelings from the past. So a huge step forward to make is to realise that when you're with someone, yeah, sure you can talk about stories about the past, but why don't you realise that you and that person are right here and right now, and in that space you could have a conversation. If you two are attracted to each other, you could become physical with each other. You could just simply enjoy the space that you're in. And here's another interesting clue. How many times have you been on a walk with someone and all you are doing, or all they're doing, is rehashing incidents about the past? I'm sure you've had this experience. I certainly have had more than my fill of them. And after a little while, I realise this person is going blah, 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 and they are blind and they are deaf, and they are missing the beautiful experience of this wonderful place that they're in. So, when you do go for a walk with someone, it's a really helpful thing to do to tune into your body and to take a little risk and suggest, hey, let's just spend the next 10 minutes of this walk focusing on everything that's going on around us. Because when you do this, you allow inspiration to come in, you allow increased creativity. And you must have noticed this, there are times you get inspiring thoughts. And I'm intensely grateful for the plants that I have close relationships with, because they are always willing to assist me in this process. If I tune into the now sufficiently, I become aware of my body, and then I allow any thoughts that are coming through, I just notice them, I just notice they're flowing through me. So I would say that the human journey is to rediscover the power of the heart connection that we've all got, and that our mainstream society and our culture has tended to devalue. It's tended to put a great deal of value upon the head and the ability to think things out. And most professions require that a person is very much engaged with their head, and there's some exceptions. Anything to do with creativity or the arts automatically brings you much more in tune with the heart. Now, here's a really interesting thing to be aware of. If you're a person who finds yourself stuck, that you're not quite sure what your next step in life is, then the best possible thing you can do is to literally give the head a rest. And there is a few different techniques you can use to give your head a rest and allow your connection to the heart to become stronger. So I'm going to start to mention a few of them. A really simple thing you can do is to become aware of your breathing. And I've mentioned this in previous films. You can check out the films which give specific breathing exercises. Just being aware of the breath flowing in and out automatically starts to bring you into more of a connection with your body. And that's a place of power for you. Next thing you can do is to literally be aware, what is my body touching right now? I've got the ground underneath my body, I've got the drum underneath my right knee, I've got my hand on the drum and my hand on my knee. as soon as you start to become more aware of your body sensations, aware of the wind blowing through my hair and across my forehead and over my face, these simple little things bring us right in touch with our heart and with who we are. And this starts to loosen what I would call the domination of the head. And all scientists who make breakthroughs know this, all artists who get inspiration know this. It's when the thoughts become quiet that the inspiration and the ability to create new possibilities for yourself, that's when it comes up really strongly for you. So one of our essential steps in our human journey is to realise that what the head likes to do is to broadcast thoughts. It's like we're an antenna, we're picking up all these thoughts all the time. And it's really helpful to realise that these thoughts are not yours. You don't need to identify with them at all. In fact, the best thing you can do is to realise that you're an antenna and you literally pick up thoughts from the ether. And a lot of these thoughts are cultural thoughts. And anyone who ever watches TV or is connected with any computers is being bombarded on a daily basis by other people's thoughts. So you will have experienced this. You will recognise that sometimes you have a thought that you think is really negative, unpleasant and undesirable. And it's very easy to get into to make the mistake of thinking, that is my thought. I'm just having really negative, unpleasant thoughts. They're not yours. They're just flowing through you. As soon as you realise they're not yours, they're just flowing through you, then you're starting to detach from them. Some people really do find it quite difficult with these thoughts because they realise that when they're tuning into their body and then these thoughts are just continually going through, there's a lot of them. So it's really tempting at that point to make a judgment about yourself, and you can start telling yourself a story about yourself. It could be along the lines of, oh yes, I have so many thoughts and these thoughts occupy so much of my time. So rather than telling yourself a story about the thoughts, there's another way to break through into awakening. And what you do is you notice yourself with these thoughts. So you're already aware they're not yours. You notice these thoughts passing through you. And as soon as you watch yourself with these thoughts passing through you, that actually brings you back into the now, which again is your place of power. It's your place of inspiration, your place of creativity. So this is an even easier way to do it. So I had a situation that arose for me last night. And I was communing with the plants. And I was aware there were a lot of thoughts, and I just watched the thoughts passing through. I remember they're not mine. Tuning into my body, just aware of these thoughts passing through. And then I got the space that opened up because I was aware of watching the thoughts. So then I became fully present in the now. And then a particular issue had been bothering me for some time, instant solution. And it came as inspiration, not through laboriously trying. I wasn't trying at all, and that's another clue. If you ever find that you're in a situation where you're trying, then it's time to stop. Let go, tune into your body, tune into your breathing. Just be aware of these thoughts passing through, watch the thoughts, and then like me, you'll get your inspiration. So, I'm just going to share all this. I don't know whether any of this is going to go in the film or not, but I've been having this persistent complaint, and this is my persistent complaint about the retreats that I do. The retreats that I do, they only get better, they only become more wonderful, and people have more benefit from them. And yet the issue I have is because I like people very much and get to know them, that we become very friendly with each other, and it's so easy, and I want to own the responsibility of it. It's so easy not to pursue people to take the procedures. And the procedures, if you're interested in a retreat, you go to the website, and when you make the commitment, you pay a deposit. So what has happened is I actually, funnily enough, as I'm sitting here right now, today, there was supposed to be a retreat taking place. It didn't happen because nobody got it together to pay their deposit. There were two guys who were willing to pay their deposit just a week, slightly over a week before the event was due to start, which was far too late. Because of those of you who know about the retreats, it takes plenty of time to prepare, and I send people at least 6 emails over the weeks before the retreat, all to help them prepare. So for someone to send a deposit 7 or 9 days, or someone even tried to book on the retreat 3 days beforehand, far too late. So this is my persistent complaint. How do I deal with this issue? How to get over it? I just let it go, enjoyed my experience, being in and out, and suddenly it was just thrown right at me. Instant solution. And what I loved about this is it gave me an opportunity to explore my edges, because one of my edges is, yeah, but how do I feel about letting retreats go for a really low price so it's perfect? And I'm taking a completely straight conventional marketing model, which in the country I live is particularly made use of by the railways. So I'm launching a super saver, and there's a 72-hour window for that one, and from the date that it goes up on Facebook, there's that very narrow window. If you book the retreat within that very narrow window, you get a really incredibly big reduction. All these details will be on the website. After that 72-hour period is up, where people will be able to book a really cheap retreat, so if you haven't got much money, it's really easy, you make the commitment really early on, you're sorted. Then there's another period of time which is within the first week, and you're entitled to book yourself a saver. Not quite as cheap as the first one, but still a really very cheap price. And then after that week is up, then I go on to a standard price. And after that, then all the way up until 4 weeks before the retreat begins, that's the standard price. And then if anyone wants to book within the last 4 weeks, then they're going to have to pay the full price. So this is my way to make sure that people pay the deposits early. This means I can organise a retreat so much more successfully. I don't have the situation where I'm buying a lot of supplies in which then are not used because people don't turn up. Perfect system. It's not really the detail about my system that I'm so excited about. What excites me is that I have this persistent complaint, I have this problem, I have this story I was telling myself about the past, about how my retreats were not working in terms of deposits, and people weren't understanding how things are to be. And then bingo, instant solution. And then the solution only became possible for me because I let go. I watched my thoughts hitting into my body, and I was aware of myself being the watcher, watching the thoughts, and that was the moment I slipped completely into the now. And then the chatter, the dialogue, the thoughts vanished. And in that space, which was only for a few seconds, that was all I needed, I was given the complete download. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. So after that experience, and it was coming up to midnight, I just sat down at the iPad and wrote the whole invitation up, popped it on the Facebook Nature's Medicine Retreats page, all done. So when you're in a situation, if ever you feel stuck, this is really helpful things for you to do. So tuning into your breathing, tuning into your body, become consciously aware that your center is your heart, which is all about the love. If you surround yourself by this color, it's of enormous value to you to do so. It brings you even more into touch with the now. And watching the thoughts, not identify with them, just allowing them to come and go, watching them. And by being the watcher, then the moment of space opens up. And then that's when creativity steps in. Perfect way of doing things. I'll suggest another way which I'm finding very useful with people, and that's getting out any art materials you've got. If all you've got is a pencil and a piece of paper, it will do. You just go, any art materials you've got the full Monty, paints, crayons, whatever, fantastic. Just get some art materials out and just pick something up and start making some marks on some paper. This is a really great way to disconnect from the rational mind as well, because you're just making some marks and all you're doing is having an experience with whatever tool you're using on the paper, and you're just watching what happens. And that's it. And there's no judgment. It doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. There's no right, there's no wrong. Just playing with art materials. That's another really straightforward, easy way to connect yourself to your true center. So it's all about love, it's all about the heart, it's all about tuning into the body, tuning into the breath, and just watching those thoughts as they come and go and having no attachment to them. And that's how inspiration and creativity is increased massively for you. Thank you very much.
Will you be true